Thank you all for your time today as you're participating in today's webinar, Preparing Students for Career Success. My name is Matthew Schell. I'm Capstone's Market Development Manager, where my primary role is to aid our high school and career and technical users, both instructors and students. And let me just start by saying that we at Capstone are delighted to return to as BPA sponsors, and we look forward to the National Leadership Conference that's coming up in just 3 weeks' time now. Now, the reason we decided to conduct this webinar is to, number one, introduce ourselves to new BPA advisors. We also wanted to give you a preview of a variety of our solutions aimed at high school level students, give you a preview of some of the events that we'll be doing at this year's conference, and give you access to try these solutions yourself. Because as some of you may know, it can be kind of difficult sometimes to find practical and experiential learning solutions for your business classes. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and start by going over a quick agenda of what we'll be covering for today. Now, we'll start by hearing a little bit about our history here at Capstone and our current reach around the globe. And then from there, we're going to briefly cover 4 of our high school level business simulations and assessments. And after that, we'll go ahead and explain the BPA member exclusive pricing that we have for our products before we finally invite you to try our solutions yourself. And we're going to go ahead and detail our upcoming Capstone Escape Room and Advisor Session at the National Leadership Conference in Anaheim. Now, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to submit them in the chat, and we'll go ahead and discuss those at the end of the webinar. And additionally, I'll be providing you all with a recording of this, as well as event info and the opportunity to access these solutions shortly after today's webinar. So to start, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about us here at Capstone. So we've been based here in the city of Chicago, and we've been creating business simulations and assessments for over 34 years now. And our clients include everyone from high school level students to graduate level MBA students, as well as corporate clients around the globe. Now, I myself have been with Capstone for about 2.5 years now, and I got to say it's been a fantastic experience. And below you can see many of my colleagues that have made the solutions we've created possible. Now, in terms of our reach, we're actually very well established in the higher education market, with some of our more complex simulations such as Capstone, Foundation, and Global DNA, and a few of those clients that you can see here. However, it was these actual more complex sims that led us to develop some simulations that were more geared towards high school level and CTE students, because we wanted to give them that same high fidelity and engaging kind of solution. And we've seen our solutions used in everything from introductory business classes to subject-specific courses related to marketing, accounting, and even international business, to name a few. But now what I'd like to do is I'd like to provide you all with a brief overview of our 4 main high school-focused solutions, 2 of which are going to focus more on the technical and analytical skill development of the student, and then 2 that are going to focus more on soft skill development and the development of competencies. And we'll start out with our entry-level business simulation, Capstone Core, which was actually designed specifically with high school, CTE, and undergrad business courses in mind. Now, in Capstone Core, students are going to take the role of a leadership team of a $40 million company, where they learn how various departments interact, and they're going to try to strive to improve this company over a series of simulated years, or what we call rounds. And with each team represented by a company, students are going to be able to compete directly against their peers in their class within a closed marketplace to try to become the leader within the sensor industry. And really, this adds to a very competitive and engaging experience, because who doesn't want to be the best team in the class? But before students ever step foot in Capstone Core, what we do is we provide them with a very comprehensive and completely self-directed training module that serves 2 main purposes. The first is that the student ramp-up is going to introduce the student to the technical aspects of the simulation, such as how do I input my decisions, how do I save my decisions, and where can I review my results. And then secondly, we want to introduce the students to the business concepts that they're actually going to encounter in the simulation. Now, you as an instructor are going to be able to set up practice rounds, see individual student progress, and you can even mark the onboarding process for completion for a grading component if you wish to do so. But what's great about Capstone Core is by the end of the first hour, the students will have already had a hands-on experience. They'll have demonstrated that they understand the basics and had practice with the decision-making process before ever stepping foot in the simulation. But once the onboarding has been completed, they're ready to jump right into Capstone Core. And really, the core of the student experience is all about discovery through cross-functional decision-making. So again, during these 8 simulated years or rounds, they're going to be making a series of basic business strategy decisions across 4 common departments, being R&D, marketing, production, and finance. Now, each year, they're going to have to evaluate the effectiveness of their decisions by analyzing an industry report and trying to learn from their mistakes. And really, this goes at the core of what we're trying to develop with the students. We want to give them exposure to some analysis when it comes to basic financial statements and market analysis, have them engage in a bit of critical thinking. And most importantly is that we want them to be able to reflect on their decisions. So that way they're getting constant feedback throughout this process to help them incrementally improve their business knowledge in a practical way. But what are the actual decisions that they're going to be making within the simulation? Well, the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to go into the R&D department and set a product strategy. And what they're going to be doing is actually inventing and revising sensor products to try to meet two market segments, being high tech and low tech. From there, they'll go into marketing, set product pricing, some budgets and sales forecasting. And then after they go through the marketing department, they'll go into the production side of things, where they'll be physically producing their products by setting a production schedule and increasing their plant size over time to meet demand. And then finally, they're going to move to the finance department, where they'll be using short-term and long-term debt to be able to fund the operations and the decisions that they made in the other three departments. Now, after all of these decisions have been made, the round is then processed and the results come in. And in Capstone Core, we evaluate the students on 5 key metrics, being sales, profit, contribution margin, and stock price. And if they've shown improvement over last year's numbers for these metrics, they get a star. But you may be asking yourself, what about the 5th star? Well, the students are going to have to make sure that they raise enough capital to get them through the year. And if they don't, they may end up receiving an emergency loan that makes them lose a star for that round. And this is kind of our way of putting in a little bit of a financial consequence. That way students would more adequately raise capital going forward. But if you don't like this scoring setup, we're more than happy to customize the metrics to better suit your class. Now, as an instructor, you're going to be able to break down the action with the help of Capstone Core's Debrief tool. And basically what the Debrief tool is going to do for you is it's going to give you an automated analysis of how all of your students perform within the current round. And it's really great because it's going to provide you with custom discussion topics. And if your students are struggling with a particular metric, say contribution margin, for example, the Debrief tool will provide you with tips that you can share with them to help turn their performance around. And what you're going to find out is that with any debrief session with your students, there's always going to be this sense of anticipation in the room. You know, they really do want to see how well they did in the simulation. They may be speculating or on the edge of their seat, or maybe even politely trash talking one another. Oh, you know, we're going to be the best team in the class. But what's always amazing is that when you reveal the results to the students, you're going to see a whole array of different emotions based on those student results. Now, as you plan for your course, just keep in mind that we did try to keep Capstone Core as flexible as possible. And we've seen this used in a variety of different formats, whether it be in a quarter or a year-long class, as a homework assignment, or even as a maybe end-of-class project. But it's really mostly about trying to meet your learning objectives, and we really want to try to streamline the content. That way we're covering what's most relevant to your particular course. And to give you an example of that, a good example would be, you know, say you're teaching a marketing course, for example. Well, perhaps finance isn't really a focus in your class, or maybe you have a separate accounting class that the students will be taking. So what we did in Capstone Core is we created policy decisions. And what policy decisions are is they're a way to semi-automate any one of the 4 departments I was describing and really consolidate the decisions that the students will be making into one top-level decision. Do I want to have an aggressive, moderate, or a conservative approach this round? But so this is kind of a way of us for allowing the students to still play a role in that particular department. Of course, we want to expose them to those concepts without simply turning off that department. Now, the last thing I want to cover in regards to Capstone Core is our bundle, or our class-in-a-box option, if you will. So now, if you're looking for a more turnkey solution for your course, the Capstone Core bundle, in addition to the simulation, is going to include quizzes, case studies, and even a full-fledged e-textbook that align directly with the simulation, and will end up giving your students a much more comprehensive learning experience. And most importantly, since all of these resources were developed together, all the terminology and all concepts are congruent across these resources. And that's a pretty good synopsis of Capstone Core. But now what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a moment to introduce our newest simulation to you, which is Capsule Global. So Capsule Global is actually quite similar to Capstone Core in terms of its style and substance, but really the main difference is going to be that this is, of course, an entry-level international business simulation, as opposed to the sole domestic market in Capstone Core. And with Capsule Global, the user interface, departments, and decisions from Core are going to be fairly alike, but of course we made some key additions to really give it that international focus. And those changes and additions include everything from switching the product from sensors to medical genetic testing devices. And of course, we added 2 brand new markets that the students can enter or exit at their discretion, being China and Germany, in addition to the US-based domestic market. Now, what did we actually add to the simulation? Well, we wanted each country to have different segment sizes and different growth rates across the 3 markets. Some may skew more towards a low-tech market, some may skew more towards the high-tech side of things. But what this allowed us to do is it lets students have product customization because each region is going to have specific buying criteria. And then, of course, we added international concepts such as currency exchange rates, transaction fees, tax rates, tariffs, and of course, shipping costs as well. And that really is a quick synopsis of Capsule Global too. And now that we've kind of focused on the more technical and analytical skill development of the student, being with Core and Global, I'd like to go ahead and switch gears now to the other side of one's career development and talk a little bit about soft skill and competency development. So while our main focus has always been on academia, we also have provided several types of professional development opportunities for some of the largest corporations out there, a few of which that you can see here. And as a result of that, we pay very close attention to what our corporate clients are looking for in both existing and new employees. And it's really their feedback, in addition to quite a bit of research that we do internally, that indicated that we're really at a critical moment in time when it comes to student soft skill development. They're just not as much of a focus these days, or some students may be lacking them. And these skills I'm referring to could mean anything from leadership to communicative abilities and even problem solving as well. So therefore, we decided to do something completely different than what we've done in the past, and we created Capsule Inbox. And what Capsule Inbox is really the world's first simulation-based soft skill assessment. And with Capsule Inbox, you're going to be able to assess and develop each of your students' soft skills, and it's going to provide them with a snapshot in time as to where their skills are at that given point. And what we primarily try to measure is 5 key soft skills, indicated a lot by the research and again by our corporate clients. Those being initiating, problem solving, organizing, leading, and communicative abilities. And after a quick onboarding, the students are asked the following question. Relative to your peers, where do you place yourself for each of these 5 skills on a scale of 0 to 100, so on a percentile? And what this does is it's essentially a pretest before the students go into the Capsule Inbox simulation. Now, within the Capsule Inbox assessment, students are going to take the role of a middle-level manager at an Internet of Things company, much like Google. And they've just returned from a long vacation, and they're going to be responding to a series of emails from their supervisors and subordinates, even potentially local vendors and clients, within 60 minutes time. And within this time, we're looking at students' time management, as well as the proficiency and the consistency of their responses. And after they attempt to select the most effective email responses in the simulation, we then go ahead and compare their individual results with that of their self-assessment. And what we do is we give students a very detailed feedback report that hits on their overall performance in relation to other high school level Capsule Inbox users. We also discuss their self-awareness levels, as well as visualize their skill gaps for each of these soft skills. That way we can identify which areas are in most need for improvement with the students. But really it's from there that the student takes center stage, because we help them create an individual self-created development plan that's going to help them create actionable goals that will actually help them improve their soft skills over time. Now, what's also unique about Capsule Inbox is that it's really more of a platform than a particular, one version. And what this has allowed us to do is create several different narratives that are not solely business focused, but can be focused on other career cluster areas as well. In fact, we currently have 5 versions of Capsule Inbox. The one we've primarily been discussing is the first iteration, called General Management. However, we have additional versions including People Management, which is more of an HR focus. We have Ethical Decision Making, Time Management, and Strategic Marketing. And I would say the ones that are most relevant for students would be the ones that we have starred here, being General Management, Ethical Decision Making, and Time Management. In fact, at the BPA NLC, we'll be providing students with free access to try Time Management That way they can try it themselves. General management has been the one we've seen most used at the high school level. And my personal favorite actually is ethical decision making, where you are a general manager of a boutique hotel and you're dealing with all sorts of head-scratching ethical conundrums. And it's really about how would you actually solve these issues in addition to looking at those core 5 soft skills that we previously talked about. So with this focus on soft skills, I'd like to go ahead and move to the last solution that we'll be highlighting today. So we're going to go ahead and transition to around teamwork with our product, Teammate. And what Teammate is it's an online peer and group assessment tool that's going to allow you to administer a series of assessments that will capture feedback on how your students performed at both the individual level and at the group level. And really a good way to think about this is a digital version to your typical paper assessment, with the goal really being to provide your students with the crucial feedback to help them improve their effectiveness in a team setting, which is something, of course, that is required across virtually all careers. So it's not just suitable for business classes, but for any class where group work may be present. Now, the peer assessments are going to evaluate each student's individual performance and can be utilized for grading, while the team assessments are going to go ahead and offer developmental opportunities and feedback. That way they can help identify their teamwork strengths and weaknesses. And it's also going to provide you as the instructor and your students with interactive graphs and additional resources such as videos, so that way we can add some self-directed learning in there as well. And it's been very flexible for a lot of schools, and we've seen it purchased at both the individual class level or even more commonly as a site license. That way one purchase can be used for students to have assessments in a variety of different courses within an academic year. And that really is a good synopsis of Teammate there, after we've gone through these 4 solutions. And I'd just like to go ahead and quickly note that with any combination of the 4 simulations that we went through today, really your students are going to get that all-encompassing development of the skills necessary to really help them go out there with that competitive advantage, whether they're going to be continuing their education with post-secondary or entering directly into the workforce. But now what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and detail our BPA member exclusive pricing that we have. So, as you can see here, we currently have 2 main discounts for BPA advisors. The first one we give is a flat 25% per student license discount from our standard pricing. And really this is great if you have a small number of students and you'd like to give the simulations a try. Now what we also offer is a 45% discount license bundle if you'd like to try it out in a larger class. And this is going to give you 50 student licenses of either Capstone Core or Capsule Global. And really it reduces the price significantly to just about under $15 per student. And what's great about these licenses is that they can roll over from semester to semester. They only have to be used within a single school year. Now, when it comes to Capstone Inbox, we also have a Pretest Post-Test option, and we see that's very commonly used at the high school level. Essentially what this is where the students complete Capstone Inbox maybe once at the beginning of the course and then once at the end of the course. That way you can assess their development with some longitudinal data over time, so some empirical data tied to this to see how well they improved throughout the course. And with this pricing, it's essentially providing you with a second use of it half off, and this includes for any of the different versions of Inbox that we've previously been describing. And then finally, when it comes to Teammate, Teammate's at $10 per student, and that's for unlimited assessments and surveys for the students within the academic year. However, again, we do see site license purchased more commonly, and they can be more cost-effective, but this is typically done on a case-by-case basis. But all of this pricing information will be provided to you in the email that will be following this webinar. So now that we went ahead and detailed pricing, I'd like to go ahead and invite you all to try the simulations yourself, because we want to, of course, make sure it's not only a good fit for your particular class, but you both for your particular teaching style as well. And the way that it works is that after the webinar, in that same email, we'll provide you with a link that will let you schedule a time to, at your convenience, have a one-on-one product demo with me personally, and we can go ahead and dive deeper into any of the solutions that we've described today. And then finally, I'm actually very happy to announce that over the last year, we've seen a lot of accolades come our way, particularly for Capstone Core and Capstone Inbox. And in 2018, Capstone Core was actually selected as a finalist for 2 separate awards, for the EdTech Digest Cool Tool Awards, and then for the SIA Cody Awards as a simulation gaming-based solution. And then more recently, in fact, we just learned about this a few weeks ago, is that we're very excited to announce that Capstone Inbox was selected as an EdTech Cool Tool finalist across 3 separate categories, that being Games for Learning and Simulation Solution, Skills Solution, 21st Century Skills, and then Professional Development Learning Solutions as well. So moving on to the National Leadership Conference, I'd like to share with you an exclusive experience that we've been designing specifically for BPA students, and we're calling it the Capstone Escape Room. And basically, on Friday, May 3rd, groups of up to 10 students will have the opportunity to experience an escape room specifically designed around leadership concepts. So we may be talking about things such as MBTI, for example, or different leadership styles like autocratic, transactional, and so on. And in under an hour, students are going to have the opportunity to put those problem-solving skills to the test to try to create a strategy for a stagnant business. And what we did was we made a specific and exclusive LinkedIn badge to recognize the success of any student teams that can complete the experience before time runs out. Now, as webinar attendees, we'd like to give your students firsthand access to register for this prior to us opening up to all BPA students tomorrow. And I'll go ahead and include a registration link along with this recording. But if you'd like to take a note now, it's actually that URL link at the bottom. That's go.capstone.com/BPA-escape-room. Now, in addition to the escape room, we're going to also be doing an advisor session called The Importance of Soft Skill Development featuring Capstone Inbox. And this is a particularly interesting session that we do, because what we do is we actually go through the research that I was referring to. What exactly are these companies looking for? Why is there this critical need for soft skill development? And then, of course, we relate to how Capstone Inbox can address this. And that advisor session is going to be on May 2nd, that being the Thursday, at 10 a.m. And we'd be happy to have you join us there, or simply visiting us at our booth. We're going to be at booth number 16 in the exhibit hall. And then down there at the bottom, you can also see a look at how you can register for the Capstone Escape Room. Just keep in mind that each individual student that would like to participate would have to register individually. That way we have numbers on what size groups are going at what time. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and conclude the webinar